Hi guys, welcome back to another episode. So if you've been following the channel for a while, you'll know the Bluetti AC180P has been the heart of the electrics of Dobby. And as you've probably seen as well, I do have other power stations. However, the Bluetti AC180P is the only one that can run the diesel heater and cool it down. So basically it's the only one that can run the diesel heater properly. And because it runs through 12 volt, I've got it hooked up to a fuse box, and that fuse box is routed all the way around to where the AC180P sits here. So any power stations I get have to fit into that space. So with that in mind, that's why I use the AC180P a lot more. My camper van is a converted feet Doblo built by yours truly. So if you want to see how I built it, link up here. And one of the massive downsides of a micro camper is space. So traditionally where power stations lie, bigger power equals bigger power stations. Well, today the industry took a massive leap forward because Bluetti contacted me asking if I'd like to review their new Bluetti Elite 100 version 2, which is an updated line to the AC180 and the AC180P. And given that the heart of the electrics in my van is one of these, I was eager to try it. From what I read on the brief, it's smaller, it's lighter, more efficient and more portable. So that'll be very interesting given how big and heavy the AC180P is. Let's get it unboxed. On the top, we've got a wee box, power cable. Next is the XT60 MC4 cable. That is quite a thick gauge wire I've got in that, but that's everything that comes in the wee box at the top. And then we've got warranty card and your instructions manual. Oh, that is definitely smaller. Oh, there's only one handle as well. What the size of that? And that's all you get in the box. If you remember on the North Coast 500, my hay fever was playing up, so it seems it's playing up now, hence the tears in my eyes. So I was about to put it down to start getting into the review, and I just clocked how many watt hours this is, this tiny package. It's 1024 watt hours. In this, let's get into the review. Look at the size difference. So again, this is the updated version to this. And not just in height either, but if you can see they're lined up perfectly. It's actually thinner than the Bluetti AC180P. You can see here, nice and flush. But then when you get to here, you can then see just how much wider the AC180P is. And you'll also notice as well, the AC180P has got the two handles, and the Elite 100 V2 has got one, and that's because the weight's been massively reduced, making it easier for carrying with one hand. So just to put it into context, the AC180 is 17 kilogram or roughly 37 pounds. The Elite 100 V2 is around 11 kilograms, roughly about 25.3 pounds. So a massive 5 to 6 kilogram weight difference, which you definitely feel. So this is already a massive win for campers, micro campers, car campers. It's small, it's light, and it's still got big power. So I've had to move because that car park was just a wee bit noisy. On a plus side though, when I was moving the car, I went all the way down that way. I seen this guy shouting in the field. I didn't know if he knew me or if he thought it was somebody else. So I drove along and stopped at another wee bit, but the midges were horrendous. And he pulled alongside me. He rolled his window down and told me he was a subscriber, so I felt safe. We were just chatting for a wee bit, but I don't think I got your name, buddy, so if you're watching this video, leave it in the comments, and it was nice meeting you. I've came to this wee spot because even when I was talking to the guy, the midges were, you wouldn't even call them midges, they were flies, but they were just everywhere attacking my face and his face. This wee bit's a bit better because it's nice and windy, so let's continue with the Bluetti Elite 100 version 2 video. So I want to quickly touch on the weight again. As you can see, the AC180 has got two handles, whereas the Bluetti Elite 100 has just got the one. It has still got a bit of weight to it, but this is considerably heavier. You would much rather take this one if you're going camping, tenting. But see, if I'm being honest, I feel there's another power station in the Bluetti line that needs another mention, and that's the Bluetti AC70, because AC70 power stations dimensions are actually comparable to the Elite 100 V2. However, a massive difference is in the power. AC70 has only got 768 watt hours, whereas the Bluetti Elite 100's get 1024 watt hours. But the main difference is the Elite 100 is smaller than the AC70, but packs a lot more power. So let's move on to power. And again, we're basing this off the AC180 base version. So the Elite 100 V2 is a 1024 watt hour battery, and the base AC180 is 1125 watts. So you're roughly talking about 128 watts worth of difference there. Now, some people might think that's a massive shortfall, but with the features I'm about to tell you that you get with the Elite 100 version 2, it might balance it out a wee bit for you. So they both output power at 1800 watts, however both of them can boost up to 2700 watts. However, with the power surge, the Elite 100 can actually go up to 3600 watts, obviously for a brief moment, but the AC180 can only do 2700 watts. Both of them have LiFePO 4 battery technology, which can last up to something like 10 years, but the AC180 charge cycles are roughly around about 3500, whereas the Elite 100 is 4000 charges. Both of them also have fast charging, and the both of them can go from 0 to 80% in 45 minutes. However, going from 0 to 100, it's 80 minutes on the AC180 and only 70 minutes on the Elite 100. But also note as well, because it only draws 1200 watts, whereas the AC180 is taking 1440 watts to basically charge from 0 to 100. So this is actually charging faster with less power. Now, when it comes to solar charging, the both of them can be dual solar charged as well, you know, from AC and from solar input. However, this is where the Bluetti E100 absolutely beats the AC180, because the AC180 can only take in 500 watts worth of solar, whereas the Elite 100 can take 1000 watts worth of solar. That's insane. You can still charge it with a fuel generator. You can also car charge it from your 12 volt socket, which is roughly about 100 to 110 watts. However, if you've got one of these installed, which I highly recommend that you get, is the BlueTCharger 1. If you're like me that relies on power stations in your camper setup, there's going to be days where there's no solar, and there's going to be days where, you know, you're going to drive to the next park up and 100 watts coming from the car isn't going to cut it, especially on a 1000 watt power station, because it's going to take 10 hours. 1000 watts is 100 watts per hour. 1000 watts, it's going to take roughly about 10 hours to charge it. So an upgrade that I highly recommend anybody with a power station's got, and again, you don't need to have a Bluetti to do it, but Bluetti came out with this BlueTCharger 1, which basically is a car alternator charger, and what this does is basically gives you up to 560 watts worth of power to charge your power station. So if your Elite 100 was only 50% and you plugged it into the BlueTCharger 1, because you're getting 560 watts worth of power, that's going to be charged 45 minutes versus 4 or 5 hours from the 12 volt car socket. Bluetti might be sponsoring me for the Elite 100, but they are not sponsoring me for the Charger 1. Even if I was using different power stations, I would still be singing the praises of that Charger 1, because it's just phenomenal. It's an absolute game changer in a camper van if all your electrics are only from a power station. So let's talk about the actual inputs and outputs of the device. So the first thing that I want to take note of is, if you look on the top of the AC180, it's got wireless charging. The Elite 100 doesn't have that. I don't really mind it. When you see the inputs that you get on the Elite 100, they more than make up for the lack of wireless charging. So if we start with the DC inputs on the AC180, we get one USB-C 100 watt USB-C, and we get 4 USB-As. On the Elite 100, we actually get 2 USB-C sockets and 2 USB-A, but there's two differences. The USB-C on here is 100 watts, and this one is 140 watts. How cool is that? For me, having that 140 watt USB-C more than makes up for the missing wireless charging. Get the usual 2 AC 240 volts. On here we've got the same. This socket's upside down, and that's just so that the wire doesn't interfere with this plug socket. The buttons to turn them on are pretty much the same, just down here. And then you've got your 12 volt 10 amp socket, and it's just the same down here, 12 amp socket. However, if you're eagle-eyed, you'll see that there's 2 DC 5521 sockets down here. And if you've got solar panels that use those connections, or a security setup, and another good use for these as well, if you've got 12 volt socket adapters, you plug it in there, and then you've got another 12 volt socket. You could say you've got 3 12 volt sockets. However, these are only rated for 8 amps, whereas this is 10 amps. And then this is where another massive change is. This DC input is obviously the barrel connection, and it's rated for 12 volts, 10 amps. If you look at the Elite 100s, the DC input is XT60, and it's 12 volt rated for 20 amps, 1000 watts worth of solar. So that's why the cable that we get with the Elite 100 for the solar is a much thicker cable, because it's taking in 20 amps. Again, the only thing that's missing from the Elite 100 is a wireless charging and maybe one extra USB port, but again, I'm happy for the 140 watt USB-C because it's a lot more handier, especially fast charging and stuff, than the wireless charging, because the wireless charging is only rated for 15 watts and your phone has to be in the right place to get the charge, so I would much rather take that. And then you've got the Bluetti Smart app as well, which they both utilise. So as you can see, I do like Bluetti tech. So we've got the hands-free one there, then you've got the AC180P, we've got the Charger 1 and the Elite 100 V2. Everything's here, and the good thing about this app, you can basically see the status of all your devices. So when you're driving the car, you can see the Charger 1 status, how many watts it's given. You can actually then click into whatever device you're charging from the car, from the Charger 1, and you can see exactly the status. You can see how much power it's getting, and it actually gives you a notification as well when the actual device is charged. I do actually quite like the Bluetti app because it does have a lot of useful features on it. So I'm going to turn the Elite 100 on just so you can see it in the app, and then we'll go into here. There we are. This is actually a new feature they've added. It's actually telling you how much money you've saved from your energy usage. It's got all these things down here as well, which is new. Again, you can turn it all on remotely from DC. Then you've got the AC. And again, you can see they've just come on there. Now it's showing that there's power going to the AC and DC, and then you've got your settings up here. And another cool thing about the Elite 100 is it actually uses Wi-Fi as well as Bluetooth, whereas the AC180P only uses Bluetooth. So then you've got working mode, standard UPS. If you were using a CPAP machine and stuff, you would basically change the setting on this. You can customise the time. So this just means that in a power cut, this will kick on within 10 milliseconds. And you've also got your charging modes, which is standard, silent, turbo. So that just basically means standard charging, silent charging and turbo charging, and it basically means the fans will kick on. Got your screen timeout, which is basically for this. The good thing about this one is you can actually set it for 30 seconds, or you can actually set it to never. So that will just stay on indefinitely. And then you've got firmware upgrades. I don't know if I need to make one. Well, we do, we need to make some system upgrades, but we're not going to do it now because we're on the review. So I did touch on UPS in the app. Basically UPS is uninterruptible power source. If you use like a CPAP machine or anything like that that basically needs a constant stream of power, in an emergency situation this would kick in. Now the cool thing about it is the AC180 or the AC180P has got a 20 millisecond UPS response time. This one's got a 10 millisecond response time. The leaps and bounds that Bluetti have took from something as big as AC180 and put it into a smaller form factor in the Elite 100 is just insane. And it doesn't stop there, because have a look at the LCD screen. So as you can see on the AC180, it's a lot smaller compared to the Elite 100, but that isn't all. Look at the differences. So the AC180, the Elite 100. So not only are the numbers bigger on the Elite 100, it looks a lot brighter as well. But it's still got all the same readings and stuff. They're just on a bigger scale and you can see them a lot better. But for the most parts, I would say they're just the same. So let's get testing the Elite 100 with everything I use in the van, especially the diesel heater, and let's see if it actually matches the AC180. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in where I would put the other Bluetti, and let's see the size difference. So that's where it would go, but you can just see how much space we've got with that being in there now. And then we'll connect the 12 volt to the fuse box so we can get lights. It is actually quite a nice fit in there as well compared to the AC180. Good start, and I've actually got stuff in the fridge, so let's get the fridge on. So that's the fridge just kicked in, so it's roughly about 40 watts. Let's get the big ticket items done and let's see if it can run the diesel heater. So I just want to say as well before I try the diesel heater test, as you've noticed I've turned the lights off and the fridge again, and that's just because of how many amps the diesel heater takes to start up. But once it's actually at its temperature, it then basically the watts just fall off. So let's see if we can get the diesel heater running and cooled down from the 12 volt socket of the Elite 100 version 2. 3, 2, 1. It's on. So the problem I was having with a lot of power stations is they can't go past 120 watts, but for some reason the AC180 can do it no problem. Most of them can only go to like 120 and then they'll basically cut out. Now the diesel heater doesn't always take 120 watts to get started, but it does on the cooldown. Once this starts dropping, then it means it's at temperature. You can see the Bluetti charger one in the back there. So it's definitely running the diesel heater and you can hear it ticking away. So I would say that's at temperature now. So how many watts is it? 9 watts. So my diesel heater is a 4 kilowatt diesel heater, just if you're interested, and I'll leave a wee link here if you want to see how I installed it. So there's no question it definitely runs my diesel heater. So let's get to the point that matters the most. Will it cool down properly? The only reason why I'm a bit hesitant is because they changed the DC input, so I don't know if they changed the DC output along with that and they changed the rating for it. Let's see, I've just pressed off. So as you can see there, it's now saying clear. That's the fan amping up. So let's check. Jesus, we're up at 130. I don't know if that's because I ran it hotter and it's working harder, I don't know. I don't remember it being away up there. And it's still saying clear. With other power stations, it gets to 120 and just cuts out altogether, but this is only going at 25 watts. So I don't know if there's maybe some battery management happening in here that's only taking a certain amount of load, or it's only taking what it needs to take. It's not actually letting the diesel heater take all of it kind of thing. But so far we're only taking 24, 25 watts. This is definitely cooling down now. There isn't any fault codes. So it's saying 0 there, and no fault codes. So it's saying we ran it for 15 minutes. So we've just got our answer. The Elite 100 V2 will run my 4 kilowatt diesel heater and, most importantly, cool it down. Let's get it set up for some cooking. So naturally we need to use the air fryer. The meal that we're going to make is bagels and cheese. I forgot to bring the air fryer fillers. I'm going to put these in and try and toast them a wee bit. I've seen something online and somebody says put it on for 180, so we'll take it to 185 and we'll do it for 3 minutes, and then while we're doing that we'll cut the cheese. This air fryer is 1700 watts, and again the Elite 100 can go from base 1800s all the way up to 2700, but I just want to see how much percentage it takes, so let's get the cheese ready. So let's go lengthways. Don't want it to be super thick either. We're at 2 minutes, let's check it. Oh, that feels nice. I think that's ready to get the cheese on it right now. I don't know if you can hear it, right? I'm going to try and take it to the microphone. You can hear how crunchy that is. I'm trying to keep it as thin as possible, just so it takes less time to melt. Right, let's go straight in. 2 minutes left. Oh, I think we found the golden ratio. Not a drop spilt. 1, 2, 3. Ah! Look at that cheese. Oh, just listen to that. So I can't remember what the percentage was before we started the air fryer. I'll find out what this was before we started the air fryer and I'll put it here. But we've got 89% left, and that's from using the diesel heater and a 3-minute meal in the air fryer. Just look at that. So let's try it. Perfectly toasted, and the cheese is perfectly melted. I'm going to finish this and then I think we should go into gaming. So let's see how many watts it takes to charge the Nintendo Switch. So as you can see, we've probably got around about, I don't know, 25% battery. We're getting 23 watts. So if you remember with the Ally ROG X, it was 80 watts we were pulling. The Switch 2 is only pulling 23 watts. So being on its own, it's not going to matter because it's not under load and it's only 22 watts. So let's put a game on and see how much wattage it takes while it's running a game like Cyberpunk. This is the first time I'm seeing it on the Switch. This looks amazing. So we're only at 28 watts. That is crazy given the fact that this is running at 1080. So let's try and create a bit of havoc and get the computer running a bit. So now we're just floating in that 29, 28 wattage. Now I love playing handheld, but I love also playing with a monitor, so let's see how many watts it takes in docked mode. HDMI. So let's see how much watts it's taking just as it is. 15 watts. We are charging the Switch. We've got the monitor on and we're only taking 13 watts. What's it at now? 27 watts, so under that load with all the police chasing us, we went up to 27, so the same as handheld, so like, that's crazy. So if you want to be off-grid playing the new Switch 2 for days, judging by this, even weeks, the Bluetti Elite 100 has got you covered. But what about bigger consoles? Let's check. The PS5, we're coming with the heavy hitters now. So let's see, while there's no games playing, let's see how much wattage it's taking. As it is currently, just on the home screen, it's taking 92 watts. So let's put on Cyberpunk and see how many watts we're getting from that. As it is just now, just loaded in, we're currently at 221 watts. So we're in the city centre and we're currently taking 240 watts. At this setting, with full charge, we're going to get roughly 4 hours. The wattage is going to depend on the game you're playing as well, so let's try a different game. So now we're in game and we're only at 128 watts, so we're actually 100 watts less than what Cyberpunk was. So there you go, Division 1 is only 130 watts, Cyberpunk was at max 244. So if you were off grid, want to play Division for a wee bit, you're going to get at least 7.5 hours out of it. Let's check the one that most people will be playing, Grand Theft Auto 5. So 188, I'm guessing this is going to be max 190. If your game's Grand Theft Auto 5, you know, this is going to run for at least 5 hours. So let's check a small game like this World of Mine. As you can see, we're only taking 105 watts. We're going to get roughly just under 10 hours playing wee side scrollers like this. So if you're not playing Grand Theft Auto, you're not playing Cyberpunk, blah blah blah, you're just going to get a ton of game time with the PlayStation 5 and the Bluetti Elite 100. So I can say with total confidence, the Bluetti Elite 100 has got you more than covered for any gaming system you want to try on this. So as you can see guys, the Bluetti Elite 100 V2 can handle the diesel heater, can handle an air fryer meal, can handle gaming from a PS5 and a Switch. So what's not to like? So what's the pros and the cons? Pros, it's nice and light, it's got a small form factor, it's portable, it runs the diesel heater from the 12 volt socket, and it's got big power charging options, i.e. the 1000 watt solar input. We can use a charger one, 560 watts, and it's also got dual charging, but it also takes less power to charge it through the AC, i.e. from a house. What's some of the cons? I would have liked to have seen the same power as the AC180. Obviously it's just, I think, 198 watts worth of difference, but I still would have liked to have seen it even just match that. I wouldn't say it's a con of mine, but I could see it being a con of others, and that's no wireless charging. And again, you are getting 2 USB-C ports, one with 100 watts fast charging and the other one with 140 watts fast charging. So to be fair, that's an easy compromise for me. So would I personally upgrade from the Bluetti AC180p to the Bluetti Elite 100 V2? First of all, this thing is incredible. The size, how small it is, how light it is, and the fact that it's so portable as well. And like I said, the size of this is more like the AC70 and the power is like the AC180. So to me, if the AC180 and the AC70 had a baby, this would be it. If I had the base AC180p at 1125 watt hours, yes, I would definitely upgrade to this if I had that one. Mine is the AC180p and that's 1440 watt hours, but it's actually 416 watt hours more than the Elite 100 V2. So it is a considerable loss to myself despite all the features that this gives. That being said though, this will be utilised in Dobby. So if you remember, I had a leisure battery, was going to have a hybrid setup, but I think this is now replacing that leisure battery. Given the fact that we can game on it with the PS5, the Switch 2, we can use it with the air fryer, we can use it with the diesel heater. But again, if I was going off grid and I want to make sure I've got plenty of power for, say, the fridge and the lights, and in the winter for the diesel heater, then this could just be dedicated to my gaming setup. So guys, that's going to cover it. So if you want to go and pick this power station up, I'll leave a link to it in the description. This power station has just been released today from Bluetti, and they've given me a discount code here if you want to go and pick it up at a reduced price. So thank you again, Bluetti, for sending me out the Elite 100 V2. So guys, if you've got any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll answer them as best as I can. So guys, if you did go and enjoy the video, why not drop it a wee like and let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already, why not get subscribed and hit that bell notification so you're always notified when I drop a new video. So until the next one guys, peace.